Hi folks, I'm writing this in a hurry, so please forgive any mistakes. I think you remember how things were left in the last part. Butch remained at the door, a menacing figure, under the brim of his hat, holding a rifle. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the room. A tense silence hung in the air, as I, with a racing heart, tried to make sense of everything that was happening. Did it have any connection to today's conversation? "Jake, are you going to open the door, or should I come in?" I choked at the moment. The words were laden with intent, and a sense of desperation seized me. Quickly, I grabbed my notebook and headed upstairs, seeking refuge in the bedroom. With each step, the creaking sound of the floor echoed, alerting Butch to my escape. "Jake, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Open the door!" I ignored the plea and reached the room. Irregular breathing was the only sound in the room as I hid in the corner, contemplating what to do with the data. Perhaps I should release it, in case something happens to me. The door creaked open slowly, interrupting my thoughts. I began to hear the sound of boots ascending the stairs as I locked the bedroom door. "Jake, it doesn't have to be like this. Open the door and we'll talk." He called my name with apparent calmness, but beneath it, the tone of his voice carried a grim determination. Ignoring his words, I climbed onto the bed, trying not to be in the direct line of the door. He kicked once. "Fine, if you want to do this the hard way." Another kick, and the door gave way, almost falling against the wall. Desperation grew within me, and my gaze fixed on the window, the only escape route. Without thinking twice, I opened it and prepared to jump. Butch noticed my intention and took a few hurried steps in my direction. "You're not getting away." The moment he raised the rifle, I jumped through the window, landing on the lawn below. The impact was harsh, but adrenaline blurred the pain, and my notebook cushioned the fall. I think, unfortunately, it broke in the process. As I got up, I heard shots echoing in the night, but the shadows helped me escape as I ran towards the forest, seeking refuge. The shots failed to find their target, but the pursuit was just beginning. I disappeared into the shadows of the forest, determined to uncover the truth behind Butch's threats and find a way to stop it all. The forest was too silent, its twisted branches and dancing shadows amplifying the atmosphere. I ran, breathing heavily, trying to get as far away as possible from the threat following my every step. In the distance, I began to hear the hoarse and steady rumble of a jeep approaching. It was Butch. I left the main road and threw myself into the midst of the trees, lying face down in the middle of dense bushes. Shortly after, the car parked a few meters away from me. Butch got out. I couldn't see him, but I heard his steps getting closer, and he was sniffing. "Look, kid, I can see you and you're in serious trouble. Come with me to the station to sort things out, and I promise to go easy on you. Otherwise, I won't have a choice but to..." I heard the rifle being prepared for a shot. "Come on, I'll count to 3. I didn't know what to do. Run or surrender. 1. Was he bluffing? 2. Well, if he wanted to. 3! He fired. Upwards. Some birds flew, and small animals scurried away. He kicked the car's body and got in, accelerating. I made the right bet. If he had seen me, he would have shot without saying anything. I waited a few minutes before continuing. At this hour of the night, moonlight fractured through the dense tree leaves, creating ethereal patterns on the ground covered with dry leaves, With every step, fear grew, fueled by the uncertainty of what awaited in the depths of the forest. My body felt the tension of strong emotions. My joints ached, and my body was feverish, but an urgency propelled me forward. The night sounds of the forest became sharper as I approached the town's perimeter. Broken branches under my feet echoed like gunshots, a sinister soundtrack for my escape. On the horizon, the familiar silhouette of the store rose like a shadow, a beacon of salvation, or perhaps my final destination. The moon cast its light on the store's parking lot, creating a surreal view of the place that, not long ago, seemed just like an ordinary market. The facade was quiet and dark, but the echo of my footsteps seemed to fill the void with palpable tension. The fear of being followed persisted. I looked in every possible direction as many times as I could. I approached the entrance hesitantly, as if the sheriff would jump from the heavens and kill me with his bare hands. The door creaked as I pushed it, making the bell ring, revealing the silent and unexplored interior. You might think it was reckless to come to my workplace, but you see, since Dave's incident, we hadn't found a replacement. I knew the other employee who worked in the morning, a college student who couldn't wait to leave the store, whose boyfriend promptly picked her up. The store would either be empty, or occupied by someone with no desire to work, and unaware of what was happening. I entered slowly, and surveyed the empty interior. Most lights were off, creating dancing shadows, and the characteristic smell of dusty products filled the air. A shiver ran down my spine when I realized that I wasn't alone. The figure I saw on my first night, the woman with hair over her face, emerged from the shadows, a slender and threatening figure. But this time, it was different. I felt no fear. She floated calmly, not projecting herself towards me. In fact, it was as if she awaited my arrival. That mysterious visitor came out from one of the shelves, talking. This time, he had no shadow.
Jake, you're finally here. I'm sorry for how things have unfolded.
What's happening? Who are you? Why is Butch trying to kill me?
Butch is just fulfilling an ancient agreement, settling the debt with the store. Do you have time to hear a story?
His deeply wrinkled eyes carried a seriousness that conveyed a long and dark tale.
Well, the well-known sheriff, Butch Cornwell, is actually older than any of you. He was an overseer on one of the slave farms in this region about 2 centuries ago. I suppose you suspected that, right?
He showed the photo he had given me when we first met.
He wasn't just another overseer. He truly reveled in it. Like hunting animals, he said. There were tumults during the abolition period, revolutionaries, reformist rebellions, and repression. There was a young woman named Beth, and she was a slave. She fell in love with a man who was born a slave, but bought his freedom.
He raised his hands, bringing them together in front of his body, causing the sleeves of his coat to retreat and reveal shackle marks on his wrists.
I was the young man. Kenway, at your service.
He bowed with his hat.
But you see, I fell in love with Beth. I wanted to marry her. We spoke with Reverend Bates. He was an abolitionist who had agreed to perform our marriage, which by right would make her no longer belong to her former owner. She would be married to a free man, and therefore free. But that's when conflicts erupted. Butch was never sympathetic to it, and when he found out, he incriminated us. Claimed we were planning to release all the slaves and take over the town. With that taken to mob trial, we were condemned. The Reverend was hanged shortly after. We weren't as fortunate. He did horrible things to Beth. I don't think I need to mention what they were. He tied me up and made me watch while he was there, again and again. He gagged her after she bit him, but that didn't stop him. He used everything to hurt her. Whips, hot iron, even some shots. The store's lights began to flicker. I'm sorry, Beth, but he needs to know. He looked at the woman with long hair. Her gaze was teary. Finally, when he got tired, he tied her to a log, cut out her tongue, and left her there to die. As for me, I was a citizen with rights. I couldn't be treated that way. So he put me at her feet and shot me, forbidding my body to be buried until Beth died too. He wanted her to see me rot. I don't even know what to say. Don't say anything. Hatred, pain, all together made Beth's spirit wander. As you can see, she can't speak, so I ended up being her spokesperson. We went after Cornwell. At the time, he wasn't called Butch. He was Josiah. He evaded us for a while, until we thought he had died in an accident. But no. It turns out the curse caught up with him too. He doesn't die until Beth kills him. But after so many escapes, he found a way to continue his life. The store. The store? What do you mean? Well, the store was built on the site of our deaths. We need to stay nearby, or we could lose strength, and even fade away. So he proposed the following deal. He would bring people here, like store workers, and Beth could feed on them to quench her thirst. He would cover up the deaths. I'm sorry for this, but when Beth goes into her frenzy for blood, she becomes more aggressive. I can't even manifest myself here because of how strong her presence is. That night, it should have been you. But for some reason, Beth likes you. She saw potential in you to help us end Cornwell. She doesn't want to do this anymore. He looked at her and held her hand. We don't want this anymore. But why don't you just end Butch? Just feed on him. We would have done that a long time ago, but he is cautious. He avoids the store at night, where we are stronger. And anyway, he walks around with a protection amulet. An amulet? Yes. It's bizarre, but he always carries a bone from each of us tied to his body. He found out about it and managed it over a century ago. Since then, we can't even get close to him anymore. That's why we guided you, so that he could follow you here. Follow me? Tire sounds echoed from the parking lot as the Jeep parked carelessly.
Cornwell got out with red eyes and his rifle in hand, walking with strong steps. I could hear him shout,
"Get out of there, you coward! Don't make me drag you out! At least act like a man in your death!"
I looked at Kenway. "Continue here. Remove the bones hanging from him. One is on the leg, the other on the neck. 2 small and worn phalanges. We can help you survive, but if he comes in here, our presences won't be visible anymore. Can you do that?" I honestly don't know. And here it is, folks. The start of the final confrontation. I only hope Jake is strong enough to take down Butch, because, let's be real, dude deserves it. Really, really sorry for the delay since my last upload. I've been suffering from a bit of the old COVID-a-rooney. In other news, the channel has just hit 100 subs, which is super awesome. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. I hope that y'all are enjoying the readings. If you have anything specific you'd like to hear me read, please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep finding cool stories on Reddit. But enough of that for now. Followers of the story, get ready for the final part coming real soon. And make sure you keep it spooky. Until then.